The Coca-Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by DLP. HD TV powered by DLP. It's amazing. It's the mirrors. By Lowe's, proud home of Jimmy Johnson and Team 48. By Dodge, you can take life as it comes or you can grab life by the horn. Dodge. And by Nextel, only from Sprint, helping NASCAR Nextel Cup fans get more done. NASCAR's defending champion Jimmy Johnson, who has owned this place, winning 3 of the last 4 races here, was the leader at the 300-mile mark and moments ago at the 500-mile mark. But Jeff Hammond, with a pit stop moments ago, he lost ground.
Yeah, they had a little bit of a miscue right there. As Darrell likes to say, along with Larry McReynolds, don't beat yourselves. You'll notice they get the left side up. Everything looks like it's pretty normal, but as they get ready to put the left side tires on, they don't get the lug nuts on, and the jack man doesn't see that, drops the jack too quick. They got the car stopped. Got the lug nuts back on there, but they lost 9 valuable positions to everybody else.
So, Mike, Tony Stewart, your leader as we get ready to go green.
Thanks, Chris. 60 laps, 90 miles left to race in Charlotte. 15 cars on the lead lap as we get ready to restart.
I was watching that 25 car running second right now before that caution came out, and he was catching Tony Stewart just a little bit. So, see how he does here on this next segment.
Casey Mears looking for his first Nextel Cup win. Right behind Tony Stewart on the break.
And the biggest question now, with 59 laps to go, we're right there on the border. Can these cars make it on fuel should we not have another caution?
Boy, that car that gets a little run up on the outside off turn 2. Look at that gap Tony put on those guys by virtue of getting that good run off turn 2.
3 wide behind Jimmy Johnson. And everybody makes it through. Johnson has got a long way to go. He's 10th on the restart.
Got a good restart, though. He got around a couple of guys there that was right in front of him and got a nice restart, but it's going to be hard to get by all these cats.
He is 8th right now, working the outside of J.J. Yaley. Steve, what about fuel mileage for our leader?
Mike, just prior to the restart, Greg Zupadelli told Tony Stewart, he said, we're going to be real close on gas. Do what you have to do on the racetrack, but if you can save me a little, save me a little. Matt.
His teammate Denny Hamlin needs a little bit more than a little. At this juncture, Steve, they are between 5 and 7 laps short on fuel. They're still calculating and recalculating, but they are still short at this point.
Now, how can 2 cars on the same team, Larry, be that far apart in the estimate?
Well, we know it's not because of the gear, because we have the gear rule, but it could just be a lot because of driving style. But I know one thing, I just watched Casey Mears, the 25 car, Mark Martin in the 01 just ran their fastest lap of the race. They're not conserving fuel right now. Foot in that throttle.
Krista?
Well, we saw how the 48 had the trouble on that stop, but they were outside their fuel window. They were hoping to pit around lap 350. So when that caution came out, lap 337, it put them outside their window. And then you saw they had the bad stop with the drop jack, so they will have to come back in before this race is over.
And that's what these crew chiefs really have to watch closely. They've got to watch these lap times. They've got to listen to the characteristics of the car, because things like that will make a difference, obviously, in the fuel mileage.
Your late local news follows us on the East Coast. On the West Coast, check the listings for your local Fox station. Tony Stewart trying to drive away from Casey Mears. How about the 3rd place car, Matt Kenseth? Dick?
I just asked Robbie Reiser, and he said, no, we can't make it. And then he said, can anybody else? I don't know. We'll see.
One thing I did not make a note of, 2 cars at the back of the lead lap cars that came in and topped off when we got the 1 to go. Ricky Rudd in the 88, Brian Vickers in the 83, and they seem content to stay back there. They may be banking on a lot of these cars running out of fuel.
That's something you'd expect someone like Ricky Rudd to do. And you know something I've been noticing about Rudd? You know, this is his first year. He took a year off, kind of. Maybe he's just working through some things. This is the best run we've seen him have other than at Daytona. And I tell you, he's doing a good job tonight. And coming in and topping that thing up with fuel was a good move, Larry. How about it, Dick? What do they say?
Well, I tell you, I don't think anybody knows for sure whether they can make it all the way, but I can tell you for sure, because I talked to Butch Hilton this morning, that they put an enormous amount of effort into this race. It's a brand new car. They have been struggling with the tires, and Hilton told me this morning, we know what this tire needs now. They spent a lot of time on what's called a 7-post shaker rig. That's simply a chassis device. It's a tool to help set the car up better, and they are confident that they have overcome some pit road problem. So a lot of work in a lot of areas by Team 88, and it is paying off here tonight at Lowe's.
I totally agree with you, Dick. This car has been good all week over here, and it's running great tonight. And Ricky, I think Ricky will get back in the game. You know, after taking a year off, it takes a few weeks to get yourself tuned back up.
But you're right. I mean, Dick, they went over to a place called ADI in Harrisburg after they tested here and spent 2 days over there simulating things that went on the racetrack with Jay Drake and those guys over there.
Johnson continues his march toward the front. Car 48 closes in on Denny Hamlin's 6th place FedEx Chevy. Three Joe Gibbs Chevys and 2 of Rick Hendrick's Chevys up there in that lead group, along with the Roush Ford of Matt Kenseth, the DEI Chevy of Dale Jr., and the Ginn Racing Chevy of Mark Martin.
And speaking of DEI, look at this car right here. Martin Truex Jr. in the one car went through all types of problems in the first 100 laps. I mean, look how many repairs have been done to this car. And Matt, he has made it back into the top 10 up there in 9th with 50 laps to go.
Larry Mack, at one point, he was running 16th, and they were just going to try to soldier their way home. But now he's in the top 10. The one complaint that he's had for about 100 laps, his eyes are burning. But when you look at that left front fender, you can see how much air is getting inside the engine compartment. Thus, you can bet that the crush panel maybe have a gap there, so fumes getting inside the car. The one thing he wants to do when the race is over is flush his eyes out because they are burning.
Never seen a bass boat look that banged up and still float.
We got a lot of cars in the top 10 that are banged up.
I was telling Larry a bit ago, I said, man, this is worse than Bristol.
Mark Martin has moved on past both Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson. Johnson then passed Hamlin. So now it's the Army car 5th, the Lowe Chevy 6th, the FedEx car 7th.
Mark was on Central Time. That's what it was.
Oh, 1 hour later.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 9 o'clock Central.
Yeah.
And here he goes.
Well, we know a lot of cars are going to need a caution maybe to make it to the end, but I just believe Jimmy Johnson, even though he has picked up another spot, he's almost 5 seconds behind Tony Stewart, and he's going to run out of laps, I just think, here because of the difference in lap time.
And we know he's not conserving any fuel because he's got to go.
He can't.
48 laps to go. Hamlin on the outside wants to make a run back at him. Not this time. Up ahead of them, Dale Jr. in 4th place. Steve.
Tony Gibson told Dale Earnhardt Jr. 50 laps to go. Jr. said, how are we on gas? Gibson's simple reply, 5 laps short.
And I think that's going to be pretty common. I just believe that most of these cars, especially with the speeds I'm seeing right now, I think a lot of them are going to have to come in with a few laps to go and splash of fuel.
So we expect one more pit stop. But you know how this sport goes. Expect the unexpected.
We just don't win, or how much?
Catch me if you can.